Hey guys, welcome to It's Just Wood. It's been a little while since I've made a video. We've had a lot of things going on with Christmas rush and everything. Now that we're into 2023, let's get back into making some videos. So, what we're going to do today is we are going to make a bottle opener. Now, like I said, if you're like me and you've got a CNC router and a laser cutter, there's a lot of neat little items that you can make and you can sell in your store or you can give away as gifts. Be perfect for birthdays or just anytime gifts. So there's three things that you need. I think one is for any project, and the other two is for this particular one. The first thing you need is I recommend you get you a good set of calipers. Now, you don't have to go for the high dollar sets that for like machinists and stuff use that are extremely precise. For what we do with the CNC router, especially this product, you don't have to be that precise. Of course, you can get some with the measurement dial if you want to, but the ones with the LCD readout are actually really good. This is the set that I have, and I've used it for years, and it works extremely well for me. I do recommend that when you get this, like this set, it comes with two batteries. Go ahead and get you an extra set of batteries just to keep on hand because you don't think about it until your battery runs out and you have to run and go grab a battery just so you can finish up a project. Keep you some extra ones around just to be on the safe side. So the next thing you're going to need for this project is your bottle opener itself. Now, this is also some that I use for ones that I sell on my store and also stuff that I give away as gifts. They work really well. They do come with the screws. The only thing I would say about this is the screwdriver. It's very, very small. You can see right there, it is 0.26 inches wide. It's very hard to use unless you have extremely small hands. So I would recommend if you're going to get this set, um, which is a really good set, get you a better screwdriver to use. Now you're going to need something more of a precision screwdriver for these little small screws, but the one that I've got that I keep on my fridge, I've used it quite a bit for different beverages, and it hasn't failed me yet. The next thing is optional. It is these magnets. This is a 120-piece set for $11. I bought me a set. You can see on my screen back in 2018, and I've probably maybe got through half of them so far. Of course, the bottle openers is a new project for me. Um, you do not have to use these if you don't want to, but I think it's really good to use some epoxy to put this in the wood, and that way you can pop it up on your refrigerator when you're not using it instead of having to leave it laying around on the counter where you're probably going to wind up losing it next time you get ready to have another beverage. So let's get into our project. So the bottle opener we're going to do is going to be uh, we want to start with a piece of 3/8 inch wood. Now remember, guys, if you do not know your 3/8 to decimal right off the top of your head, you can type in 3-8 and hit enter, and it will automatically convert it into decimal form. So the piece we're going to go with is going to be 4 inches wide, and I'm sure if you work with wood long enough, you know that it may say 4 inches wide, but it's actually probably only going to be 3.5 inches wide, unless it's plywood that you're pulling or that you're cutting with your table saw. Now, also, what we want to work with is going to be a piece that's, let's say, 12 inches long to give ourselves enough room on each side to put our clamps on when we're running on the CNC. So let's start our job. So what we want to do is, first off, we need to figure out what shape we want to go with. Now, there's a variety of different shapes you can use. Really, you're just limited by your imagination. But what I'm going to go with today is going to actually be a bottle silhouette. So let's go to our import function, and I have a bottle already pulled up and ready to go. So we're going to rotate this 90 degrees because we want to cut it sideways. Whoop. So now we want to get this to the size we want it to be. We don't want it to be small that it's going to be easy to lose or something. If you don't put a magnet on it, you want it good enough size that you can use it easily. So if you're older like I am, sometimes you need something bigger to hold on to. Small bottle opener, it's kind of hard to use it sometimes. So we want to make this overall about 10.5 inches wide, long, and the width is going to be 2.8 inches. And that sounds perfect. So let's get into the rest of it. Let's pull our toolpaths up. So let's go back to our video or our bottle opener. So now this has measurements on there and it says it is 1.56 inches. And this is why I like having my calipers. You could go by that 1.56 and you may be right 8 out of 10 times, but there's going to be a couple of times you may not be exactly 1.56. Now, all of them should be uniform, but I don't like to go just by the measurements. Now, when I measure this with my calipers, I pull up 1.558. So that's right, 1.56 is just a touch bigger. Now, we're not going to want 1.56 because if we do, it's going to barely be big enough for that to fit in. So let's go 1.5575. And let's create our circle. And then let's drag this exactly where we want it to be. And we don't want to put it towards the end. So let's put it about right there. Okay. So our first toolpath is going to be a pocket. Now let's go back to our piece. And we want to measure how thick the piece is. And it pulls up as 0.07 inches thick. Now, when I want to run this, I do not want it to be exactly flush with the top of the wood. I want this to actually sit down a little bit in there. So we're going to run this as 0.08 and we're going to use our 1/4 inch end mill. And let's calculate that one. And guys, one thing I really do like to do is I like to preview my toolpaths as I create them. If I have my second toolpath, I'm going to run both of them together because I want to make sure that if I have a mistake on my toolpath right now, that I'm able to go in and fix it instead of being further down the line and have to go back and change it. So I like to do one toolpath at a time to make sure I'm doing it right. So there's our first toolpath, and that looks pretty good. It's just barely deep enough that this should fit in there just right. So now let's go on to our next one. So go back to our picture. So you've got room right here. We want to measure our width from there to there because obviously it's going to have to be deeper for the bottle cap to actually fit in there. So we want to measure from here to here. So let's take our calipers back out and let's measure that. And it is 0.25 inches. So that's a 1/4 inch. So that's how much of a lip we would need for that to sit on. So let's select that circle and we're going to offset that inwards by 0.25 inches. So that's going to give us a nice little lip to sit around. Now, another thing to consider is the screw is going to go in right here. So if we have the lip at 0.25 inches, that's going to barely have any wood to actually grip into. There's a really good chance of it bursting out. Now, I've had mine that I use in my refrigerator for quite a while, and it works. I've opened several different beverages, and it has not failed me yet. but that's because I made just a slight change. So another measurement we want to get is we want to get from here, the top of the to the bottom of this. We actually want to go to here because we need to be able to put that underneath the cap and pop it off. So let's measure from here to here. So we're going to take our calipers and we're going to go back to that. And that is 0.66 inches. So let's actually do this as 0.68. So let's go back and let's get a block, and we want to make this 0.68 inches wide. Height does not matter. We can go 2 inches. And let's create that. Now we want to take this and bring it over here, and it's manually going to snap to the center of your circles. So what you want to do at this point is you just want to take your trim scissors and clear out everything. Just like that. So that's going to give you the lip for that to set on, and extra for your screw to bite into. So we want to go back in now. We want to create our second toolpath. So since our first toolpath, this is going to be 0.08 inches deep, we need the start depth on this one to be 0.08. And we want to cut it deeper into the wood. We don't want to go all the way through. You can if you want to, but we're not going to. So we're going to go 0.25 inches deep right there. So let's go and let's calculate this toolpath. And let's run both of them. And there we go. So that's going to be where our piece is going to sit, with the little extra recess for the bottle cap to go in there and pop off a lot easier. So now we're going to go back and we are going to do our magnet. So let's take our calipers back out. And we are going to measure our magnet. Now, the same thing here. They have the measurements for us, but I like to do my own. So let's measure the circumference of it, or how wide it is. It is 0.7 inches wide, and it is 0.2 inches deep. Now for this one, I actually want the magnet to sit just slightly above the surface of the wood. So let's get our circle and let's do 0.7, but we want to go just a little bit bigger. So let's go 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. And let's drop that about right there. That should be a good spot. So then let's create our next toolpath, which is going to be this one, and it's going to be a pocket as well. And like I said, it's 0.2 inches thick, and we want this to sit slightly above the surface of the wood. So we're going to go with 0.18 inches. That way, the magnet will actually sit 0.02 inches above the wood. And let's run all 3 of those. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now we're going to go back, and if we decided that we didn't want to use the magnet, you probably want to find another way to actually hold on to it. And another neat little way would be to use a little leather strap or something, or a piece of twine. So we're going to create a circle that's going to be 0.26 inches. And we're going to pull that and we're going to put it right there. So then if we wanted to, we could go and we could create a profile toolpath for that. We want to go inside. We want to go through the wood, so 0.38 inches. And then we could calculate that. And let's select all of our toolpaths. So if we wanted to, we could delete this toolpath or we could delete that toolpath. So if you wanted to go the magnet or the leather strap method. But we like using the magnet, so we're going to go with that. So now our last toolpath is going to be, we're going to take a profile. We want it to be 0.38 inches to go all the way through the wood. And we need to select a profile of this. Now you could use your 1/8 inch end mill if you wanted to. I'm going to try to do this as one job. So we're going to keep our 0.25. And we want to go on the outside, which is going to mean our bit is going to be up against this side of the line as opposed to this. We need to add some tool paths, or tabs, sorry. And we're going to put one there, and one there, and we're going to put one right there. Okay. So now let's go through, and we're going to calculate this tool path. Yes, we know it's going to cut through the wood. And we're going to select all of our tool paths. And you could run this at full speed, but it's probably going to go so fast you can't really tell. So when I get into doing this further, I like to slow this down to make sure that, and I forgot to reset it. And that way I can watch it, because how it looks on the screen is about a 95% representation of how it's actually going to cut on your wood. So that looks pretty good. Now, the reason I did not go through this completely is because I'm not going to do a video on it. But if I wanted to, I could throw this in my laser engraver and I could engrave somebody's name or something on here. If I was going to go do that, what I would want to do, just if I wanted to try to mass produce this, uh, then I would go in and I would create an offset towards the outside of 0.015, and I want to offset it of that. Then I would want to go in and select the offset that I created, and then I would export that as a DXF. And what I could do from here is I could load that DXF up into my laser cutter program and cut this shape out. And I would keep the excess here. I would just throw this away. I would try to tape this down or something, so I could, at that point, I could use that as a guide to just drop my bottle opener in and engrave whatever I want on it. If I've got a big job, if I've got a small job, and something I'm going to keep doing, I could just keep that piece sitting aside. So that way, anytime I wanted to do a beer bottle, I wanted to engrave it, I've got everything ready. All I got to do is just drop it into place. But let's go ahead and delete that, because that's not something we're going to worry about. All we're worried about right now is the actual bottle opener itself. So once we get this far into it, you've got 4 tool paths here, and every single one of them uses the 0.25 inch end mill. So the good thing about using the same end mill on everything is that we can merge tool paths. So before we get too far, let's explain this real quick. So if we've got all these using the same thing, the way it's laid out right here is the order we want it to cut in. So you've got that tool path, then that one, then that one, then that one. And the reason we want the profile last is because, let's go back and let's run this again, is because as it's doing all the heavy milling right here, we need to have a big chunk of wood for this to bolt down to. If we did the profile first, with all the milling and stuff that's going to go in here, the only thing that's actually holding this piece to that piece is these little tabs right there. And all this milling right here could cause these tabs to break. So that's why I would always prefer to do the profile last. So we can select all these and we can merge these all into one tool path. We'll go for bottle opener 2.5 end mill whole job. And we're going to merge it. So then we can shut all these off, and we have one tool path that's going to do everything. So when you load your piece up, instead of having to go from one job to another job to another job to another job, all you have to do is load up the job and run it once, and you can go off and work on something else, getting your jig ready if you to laser engrave them if you wanted to. You don't have to worry about having to go back and restart each new job. You can do everything in one. And plus, it's actually going to wind up saving you a little bit of time, because whereas your laser or your cutter is going to run this job, then come back here, then you got to start another one and come back over here, run it, go back, is that it's going to come over here, do this, then it's going to do that. A lot less travel, which is going to wind up saving you a lot of time. You could also take this and duplicate it into a bigger piece of wood. And you could run 4 or 5 of them at once. I mean, you can run the machine for 30 minutes and you could wind up cutting 7 or 8 of these bottle openers at once instead of having to change it and just do one at a time. So, sorry guys, I got a dry throat. So, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link to my calipers, to these openers, and also to these ceramic magnets in the description for this video. So if that's something that you want to look at, you can go in and buy everything and go step by step. I'm not going to do it right now, but another thing I will do in the future is I may take all these digital files that I'm creating, and I'm going to probably put them on my web store that you can purchase them. So, I mean, you can just choose my design and go exactly with that, as long as you buy everything that I am using. So that's something else that will come in the future. And if we do get to that point, I will go back and I will resave this video with a link to my store on them. But in the meantime, thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions or anything, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comment section below. If you enjoy the video, if it's helped you in any way, please don't forget to like it and also subscribe to my page. That way you can keep up with all the videos that I'm going to be making in the future. But until then, guys, just remember, it's just wood.